Hi, everybody. Welcome to BK Live this fine Monday. It's a holiday Monday.
It is a holiday Monday.
I'm Brian Vines.
And I'm Greg Johnson. Do not adjust your TV sets or internets. We got a great show here for you live from BRIC House. You're going out of town for the holiday, Brian?
I am. I'm leaving today. It was the only way I could afford to get home. You got to go for a whole week if you're taking a jet plane somewhere.
Well, one of our most faithful viewers, my father, said have fun in Chicago and bring your boots because there's snow in Chicago. You got him. You got it going. There we go.
There's life behind the table. We're not stripped to the waist here. But yeah, we're getting ready. We're coming at you, Chicago. Very excited about having a great holiday, but we're having a great show today as well.
Yeah, definitely. Stay tuned for a lot of great segments we got going on. And happy Thanksgiving to all our viewers. We appreciate you watching BK Live,
yes,
of course.
We're thankful for you this year. Well, last weekend, as the United Nations was observing World Day of Remembrance for Road Traffic Victims 2015, Mayor de Blasio joined a march heading toward the UN. It included relatives and friends of pedestrians killed and injured in crashes in the past few years. But in the past few weeks, meanwhile, a sudden rash of deaths on the streets and sidewalks of New York has caused some to question whether the city's doing enough to fully implement Vision Zero NYC. It's the policy to eliminate traffic-related deaths. Now, the mayor says his plan is helping. And coming up, we'll get into the details with Assistant Commissioner Kim Wiley-Schwartz of the city's Department of Transportation, as well as New York City Council member Rafael Espinal.
Now, since Europeans first arrived in America, its native people have suffered cultural alienation, the loss of their language and their land, the destruction of family, social structures, and much more. The resulting social dysfunction has led newer generations to seek shelter inside gangs. And filmmaker Jack Pettibone Riccobono joins us later to talk about The Seventh Fire, his documentary feature about young Native Americans in Minnesota. Via Skype, we'll also talk to the film's protagonist, a former gang member. Looking forward to that.
It's a good movie. Well, we've got the latest from girl reporter Gigi Jones, the fifth grader, all about her experience at the Willie Mae Rock Camp. Plus, Simon Applebaum of Tomorrow Will Be Televised will talk with the co-author of a new book about TV finales we've been going through all morning, from famous sign-offs like Johnny Carson's to famous blackouts like Tony Soprano's.
I remember that. I thought the cable went out. So did a lot of people, though. All right, and we noticed Brian quietly heading towards our green room the other day with a couple of cameras in tow, and we're going to show you what he was cooking up. Let's just say it included some very strong personal opinions. All that coming up, but first, Vision Zero NYC. Just how well is it working?
1, 2, 1, 2. Hating on him because they don't understand his life. Get it right. I see your faces getting kind of tight. Why stop now? Maybe you can take the crown. Then what? You still be working in the same breath. The only thing constant is the change up. 10 years from now, you still remember how I came up. Don't mistake the shape up for strange luck, because at any given moment, scenes can change cuts. Yeah. With no hesitation, that's what truth will do. Breaking down concepts that are near and dear and close to you. I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do. When you live in rhythm, everything's supposed to groove. This is the rise of the summit. That same feeling you get when that tidal wave is coming. The kingdom of the mind can't be governed, so you gotta swim with the current when it's running. Tell me, if there's nothing to be equipped, who the hell can you reckon with? Knee deep in the river Styx on the side of the boat trying to catch a grip. Half awake, wash ashore, pin to the ground with metaphors. Way too much left to explore, not satisfied, still want more. Simplify, simplify, yeah, that's what the road said. Philosophy is dead, I read it on a post-it. Philosophy's alive, that's the closest. Thought in the spring where the hope is. Is it me, or is it you? Or are we closer to the truth? What is the proof? You see confused sentiments are out of split. But if there is nobody left, who can you reckon with? Is it me, or is it you? Or are we closer to the truth? What is the proof? You see confused sentiments are out of split. But if there is nobody left.
On Halloween in the Bronx, a group of trick-or-treaters was struck by a car. 3 people were killed. In the next couple of weeks, along with a number of other vehicle-related deaths, 3 New Yorkers were struck and killed by buses. So many awful stories coming in a rush grabbed headlines, of course. And yet for the year as a whole, so far, statistics show progress in a number of categories, such as fewer pedestrian deaths overall, more moving violation tickets issued, and an increase in the number of intersections redesigned for better safety.
Well, there's also been some talk of the city giving out more tickets for jaywalking, but the de Blasio administration says that is not a citywide policy. Here to represent the administration and to tell us more about the latest steps it's taking is Kim Wiley-Schwartz, the Assistant Commissioner of Education and Outreach for the Department of Transportation. Thanks for being here today, Kim.
It's my pleasure.
And we want to welcome back to the BK Live table New York City Council member from the 37th District, Rafael Espinal, who's been calling in particular for more safety measures along Atlantic Avenue in East New York.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you both for being here on BK Live. Kim, let's start with you. Can you give us a progress report? Where are we at with Vision Zero?
Sure. Well, listen, we're looking at fatalities, we're looking at injuries. Those things are really important. And we have seen sort of a steady decline in fatalities, but more importantly in injuries. As we've gone through now, it's almost a 2-year process now, right? Look, this time of year, we always see this kind of stuff happening. I mean, the Halloween crash was particularly egregious. But we know that when we turn our clocks back, it gets darker. People start to double down for the holidays. This can be sometimes our least safe time of year. And so what we really are doing is focusing on dangerous driver behaviors and really trying to work with the driving community to ask people to slow down and to be more careful when they take turns, which is what I think, if you really look at the crashes over the last 2 weeks, has been really part of the problem. But we are seeing we're seeing a steady decline. For those of us who work and take these things very seriously, any death or injury is unacceptable. And that's why we're being so bold.
So, council member, is this something, are you looking for a balance between being able to build our way out of it versus behavior our way out, watching those turns, being more careful, but there's still some dangerous infrastructure bits?
I mean, I think we have to take an approach that addresses all the issues, and I think the administration has done a good job doing that. If you drive down streets like Bushwick Avenue, where dangerous turns were made in the past, there are actually mediums that were raised in certain areas where it didn't exist. You have speed boards where are tracking down drivers' miles per hour, so you're aware of how fast you're going. Right. And I'm seeing a lot of more officers on the streets with speed guns. So they're doing a great job overall in making sure that we're tackling the issue on all fronts. And I look forward to continue working with them to see how we can continue making our streets safer. Currently, we're talking about Atlantic Avenue, which has been a major issue in the Cypress Hills, East New York community, where we've seen a lot of traffic fatalities over the decades, and it's finally being addressed. I look forward to continue having that conversation with them.
Now, if we go back to the beginning, Vision Zero, obviously the goal is 0 pedestrian deaths. What can you tell us about how it was set up versus how it's evolved to today?
I mean, I think the way that we went about it is what we're seeing grow, right? It requires that all agencies and the council work together in order to really kind of drive down these fatalities. So initially it was NYPD, DOT, and the TLC, and now we've been able to bring in more stakeholders like the Department of Education, the Department of Health. We have DCAS who oversees our fleets, and so we're seeing changes in driving by New York City employees. It takes a lot of constant vision. It's very bold, right? I mean, trying to get down. And 0 is an idea that we have to apply every day, including to things like Atlantic Avenue. We really need to go ahead and do these engineering treatments that we know work, and we need to work with communities to make sure that they can happen.
So is this a particular challenge in New York? During the course of us doing this story, we meet for an edit meeting every day, and we had this whole LA versus New York thing where like, LA is a car culture. In New York, the streets belong to the people. And like, we don't cross at the crosswalk. We just go where you go kind of thing. And like, what's jaywalking? How do we get a ticket for that? What is it even? So how much of this sort of bad actor stuff is ingrained in just the way we are in New York?
I mean, I would say that, I think the biggest issue that we have as people living in New York City is time, right? I think we're always in a rush to get somewhere. Whether you're walking or whether you're driving a vehicle or whether you're riding your bike, you're trying to get to where you want to be as quickly as possible. Right. And I think those behaviors have to be addressed all around, make sure that we continue having these educational outreaches for the drivers, for the pedestrians, for the bicyclists, and that, at the end of the day, we have to be conscious of how we decide to treat our streets and try to get from one place to another. LA, I can say can say there are probably far less pedestrians. It is a car culture area. Here, we have people from all around, all different sectors of traveling to the city.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
We're all pedestrians in New York City, right? Absolutely every single one of us. And so, I think New Yorkers really respond well when they understand the facts. And so since we know 70% of crashes are driver behavior, all or in part, and when you're really trying to drive something down, you go after the biggest actor first. But look, we're gonna have to look as we get down to zero to, making it so that our streets really feel safe for people as they're walking.
So is that jaywalking ticket thing really going to happen? Are we in danger of those?
My understanding is that that's in the 109th precinct, and that's one of the ways that they've decided to look at this. For us, we do ask when we work with NYPD to look at, reckless driving as our top number one, just because we know when you drive too fast, you create a hazard in these rich pedestrian environments. Just walk outside of this studio, and there are far more walkers than there are drivers. So we're going to need to grow into it, and I think the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit is really helping. People are just that 5-mile-an-hour slow down. We're still getting to work on time. But just that tiny little bit can make all the difference in the world should you have a crash that you weren't anticipating.
Yeah.
So what has education been like in schools in order to improve the behavior of the next generation?
I think she can speak most to it, but I can say from personal experience, and we were actually talking about this behind the scenes. I actually remember being in the 3rd grade and getting a class from DOT and how to cross the street. And to this day, I remember all the steps they've taught me. So I think they've been doing a great job for decades, and I'm sure you can speak more on that.
And I love to hear that story. We go to more than 600 schools every year. We start with the schools where kids are most likely to be injured, but our middle and high school students are vulnerable, our middle school students particularly. So I think we've been able to really be in there. Principals want us there. And again, it's teaching kids the top things that they need to understand and then communicating with their families. If their parents do drive, I think that's another way of kids getting involved and really talking to families about how they can be part of the solution.
So when you talk about those 70% of accidents or even the fatalities that happen because of irresponsible driving, is there sort of a legislative arm that acts to penalize people even more? I remember years ago doing a story where there was if you want to get away with murder, the best way to do it is hit someone with a car in this city. So on the front of about increasing penalties for reckless driving.
Well, the DAs are working really a lot on this. This is a big deal for them. But we do have 19190, which is our new right-of-way law, which the council has worked really hard on. We're still trying to work some of the bugs out of that, but that says that if there's someone in the crosswalk and it was their right to walk and you strike and kill them, you can be more actively penalized. But again, it's one of these systems we need to really continue to work on. And we're seeing under Vision Zero we have more teeth, and it's looking like we'll get there. We'll get there over time.
I think as the years go by, there's different factors that play into something like Vision Zero. I can't even believe I have to ask about this, but things like electric bikes and hoverboards. How does that
number one wish list Christmas item is illegal?
How does that factor into our safety plan as a city?
I can say, hoverboards and electric bikes are illegal. You aren't able to use the electric motorized vehicles on our streets. So if you're using it, you shouldn't be using it. Do I think that the hoverboard should be illegal? I don't think so. I think it's a silly law.
On the sidewalk or on the street or just anywhere? Because you can't register.
That's strange because they're all over the place,
Anywhere
right?
in general. It's actually preempted by state law. State law has a certain codification for where these vehicles fall under.
Right.
And until that's changed, we can't really enforce that or take away the right for people to use that in the streets.
Interesting. Very interesting. I'm also interested in more specifics about the Atlantic Avenue safety project. What's planned? Because I know we're talking about all these factors. I mean, just New York City in general, some of these roads are just so crazy. And myself, all pedestrians, I think, have a tough time on Atlantic Avenue. So what do you have planned, or what are your
Yeah, well, Atlantic Avenue in general has been an avenue, especially in East New York, that has been ignored. Hasn't seen any major improvements by DOT for decades. It doesn't compare to what downtown Brooklyn has now. You look at downtown Brooklyn, we have raised medians, we have crosswalks in dangerous areas, but the Atlantic Avenue in my district hasn't received any of those updates or upgrades. So this is something that the community has been fighting for decades. Over 10 years ago, I remember a sad story of a woman jaywalking through the middle of Atlantic Avenue because there was no crosswalk near her with her baby. She was struck by a vehicle. She passed away. The baby survived. And from that accident, it's been a community uproar around, what kind of investments are we going to make to actually make it safer. And we finally got into that conversation. So we're looking to raise the medians, find areas where we can create crosswalks so people would be less enticed to jaywalk, and also just put more turning signals for vehicles to make the left turns.
We gotta say thank you for those countdown clocks. Those are awesome. Just
You're
how much
welcome.
time you have before.
I know.
getting
I was in
across.
D.C. a couple weeks ago. They count down from 90 seconds there.
Really?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a conversation for a different time.
Life is slower
It's kind of
there in
wonky, but they're the
DC.
only municipality that's allowed to show the walk signal and a countdown at the same time.
Oh, interesting.
For the rest of us, we can only start the countdown once we're flashing the hand. These are the things you worry about when you have my gig.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's all-consuming.
It makes the mind bleed. So
Duh.
for those of us who don't have your gig, because you have to think about these things, we just got to try to get home alive. What are the overarching things that you would like people to take away from any of this conversation?
Yeah. Well, obviously, this is a culture shift for New Yorkers. As you said, everybody's in a hurry, and we need to figure out and understand that we have each other's lives in our hands, right? New Yorkers have to take care of each other and protect each other. And it really comes down to, first and foremost, if you know people who drive or if you drive yourself, you have to understand to expect pedestrians in the crosswalk every time, no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing. It's that sneak through or that last minute push, and we really need New Yorkers to do that. And then, of course, I'm in charge of telling children to be safe as pedestrians, and they need to watch. Kids need to understand what they need to do to protect themselves in the traffic environment. But more importantly, that's because drivers are often making dangerous decisions.
Yeah, you have to be, how do you control that? Because I'm thinking when I walk around now, literally every person driving, you have to assume is texting or on their computer, I don't know, Skyping, whatever it is.
They're making coffee, whatever.
How do we target stupid drivers like that? I don't know. Brian, were you going to have a question?
Well, this is my gripe because I'm a bike rider and I just don't like the lemmings on the corner. Like, streets are for cars, sidewalks are for people. I don't ride my bike on the sidewalk. Don't make yourself stand in the street. Just get out of the street. I'm competing with cars for space, and then you're standing there just like taking up all this space, and I have to die or hit you.
That 3-footer, we don't understand why New York City pedestrians do that, and honestly, we see when trucks make their turns, they can't help it, the back of their truck makes that. So one of the things we really ask people, just wait on the sidewalk, wait your turn. But honestly, a lot of times pedestrians do that because they can't see past that parked vehicle. Yeah. They're trying to do it to protect themselves. That's why we need to extend the curb, which is what the council member's talking about. When we can extend the curb so that people can see better. You see it all over downtown Brooklyn, those big extensions. That does help, and then you know where you need to be, they know where they need to be, and we can all see each other. And these are slow changes, but they're happening hopefully quickly, like on Atlantic Avenue.
Can you comment on the overall success of those bike lanes? It does play into Vision Zero, I
can.
suppose, and it was very controversial, 3 or 4 years ago when they began.
Yeah, well, what we know is when we put in a separated bike lane, we see a 40% reduction in all crashes. That means cars on cars, bikes, peds, everybody. So it's a safety measure for our seniors who are our most vulnerable. They make up 35% of the fatalities and only 12% of our population. They can cross that bike lane when they want to and then cross only 3 lanes of traffic when they get the light, and that really helps. But, we know that bike lanes make everybody safer, and we're continuing to put them in, especially as we grow City Bike. Someday City Bike in East New York, council member, that would be amazing.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what's left to say. In the booth, they want me to say that Brian sometimes doesn't wear a helmet when he rides a bike. So.
Brian, you know what? That's just a personal safety issue. But I hope you have on lights, because that's a public health issue. We need to be able to see you.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've given away 150,000 free helmets to New Yorkers.
Very cool.
We believe very strongly in wearing a helmet, but that's your decision, buddy.
I'm going to buy him one for the holiday.
Get one for free from DOT.
We'll have a
there we
Vision
go.
Zero helmet coming out in April. Maybe we could put one on your head. It's going to be
All right,
cool.
let's meet back here in
You got
April.
it.
Yeah,
and
we'll talk
can-
more about
we can
Vision
do
Zero.
the helmet
Kim
drop.
Wiley Schwartz, Raphael Espinal, thank you for being on BK Live, and thank you for all the work that you're doing with Vision Zero and otherwise. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, be
Thank
safe
you.
out there, people. Let's get to a new year. Well, when it comes to BK Live segments on issues in politics, my co-host and I generally do try to stay as objective as possible. And if we don't always get there, we definitely make the effort. But sometimes you just gotta say what you wanna say. And after what happened in Paris 10 days ago and some of the reactions that followed, I needed to get some thoughts off my chest on video, so if you'll indulge me. I love a good Facebook fight as much as the next guy. And because my boss is probably watching this, I won't tell you how many productive moments of my workday are interrupted by a ghost ringing in my head that someone has replied to my last comment. Is that $3 cup of coffee really the end of Christmas as we know it? Will empire single-handedly turn an entire generation of young black men gay? And was she really asking for it by posing in a bikini with her little cousins? Yes, these are all subjects I will engage in with varying levels of ferocity. But don't come for me for changing my profile pic red, white, and blue. Doing so does not mean I can't see the superimposed superiority enjoyed by America's oldest ally in what amounts to a social media sanctioned terrorism double standard. Hey Zuckerberg, where was the black, red, and green filter in April when extremists murdered African college students? It's a valid question, but not an excuse to Paris. Because unfortunately, that hashtag Paris has appeared more times than I'm comfortable with on various feeds. Is it possible that some folks in the Black Lives Matter movement have devolved into hashtag Paris because the world is focused on tragedy in France, not struggle in Missouri? This I generation is often criticized for its apathy and hashtag activism. But as long as they're recruiting and radicalizing online, where else would we take a stand? Buses boycotted in Montgomery, the grape strike in Delano, bricks flying in Stonewall. If terrorism has gone digital, changing your profile pic is an act of defiance and solidarity. So don't come at me with hashtag Paris when I change my profile pic to red, white, and blue. Yes, and opinions like and you know what, but you don't have to be one when you express one, especially when the wound is so fresh. You are literally adding insult to injury. Every tear on every face tastes the same. I cried for Michael Brown and Cecil the Lion. And if you think my or any other Black Life matters less because I hashtag pray for Paris, we're not bowing before the same altar. I hashtag pray for Garissa University in Kenya, where 147 people were killed. I hashtag pray for the 44 killed by suicide bombers in Beirut a day before the Paris attacks. I hashtag pray for the 2,000 slaughtered by Boko Haram in Nigeria. For the unnamed, countryless refugees fleeing their homes and certain death that awaits them at the end of an assault weapon's barrel or the child soldier's machete. I pray that I will never know what it's like to have to lie motionless, covered in my loved one's blood, to avoid being shot myself. I pray for those whose birthright it is to be savaged or subjugated for the crime of being born female. I pray for the LGBTQ fighting to be recognized and just left the hell alone. I pray for the people making their way in my hometown, where politicians seem to care more about the public relations of being called Chirac than making sure 9-year-olds aren't killed execution style in an alley. I pray that my 1-year-old niece and my 1-month-old nephew will learn in classrooms and worship in churches, free from the threat of lone wolf gunmen. You see, my compassion for France doesn't diminish my ability to care for others. Compassion is funny that way. The more you mine it, the deeper the well springs. So yes, my profile will be red, white, and blue. Maybe it's the first step in creating a true global culture of life, and not in an anti-abortion way. We can Facebook fight about that one later. The opinion is mine, but everyone's entitled to it.
Great job, Brian.
Tell us how you really feel about it.
You got it all out there.
Well, you can get it all out there and like and share on Facebook if you so care. Or tell me why I'm wrong. I like that.
Do you have any different opinions from since when you shot that? No? You said it all.
Yeah, it's all
there. Like it and share it. All right, someone who may one day get her own green room rant. Hey, she's only 10 now, is intrepid kid reporter Gigi Jones. Her latest beat, the Willie Mae Rock Camp for Girls, and Beat is right. You're about to see how she does when she takes up the drums. Let's take a look.
Hi, I'm Gigi Jones, and I'm here at Rock Camp, and I'm totally psyched for the showcase that's gonna happen. And I'm here with my bandmate Sadie, who is playing keyboard, which is awesome. And I'm playing drums.
At Rock Camp, girls like me come together from all over New York to learn instruments, play music in bands, make friends, and have a whole lot of fun.
Are you excited? Are you nervous? Are you both?
Oh my God,
I'm feelings.
I'm a bunch of feelings. I'm so nervous, but I think we're gonna be awesome.
My name is Sadie, and I'm vocals.
We have this amazing core of volunteers. Our volunteers are what makes Rock Camp the magical place that it is. They all come together and help the bands write their best songs.
First, we have to take instrument classes to learn how to play our instrument. And in the band, we all kind of put it together.
Being at Rock Camp is not just about the music and the fun. It's also a place where girls get together to learn about teamwork, confidence, and collaboration.
My favorite part about Rock Camp is probably the fact that we can pretty much express ourselves in any way that we want, and everyone is just so supportive of you and whatever you like to do.
I think there's a number of reasons it's important to have spaces like Rock Camp for girls. And part of it is that girls every day, no matter what their background is or what community they live in, they're really encountering a lot of negative messaging and really getting the message that how they look is more important than what they do and what they think and what they say.
They should be aware that they have the right to do what they want, be who they want, and express themselves, and they should be confident in that.
At Rock Camp, we want to have a community where girls are really valued for what they create and what they think, and we really want them to ask questions of the world and make change in the world.
I love to see y'all resolve conflicts on your own, because they were really wonderful about talking to each other and communicating well.
We're so proud about all the programs we've been able to do and the more than 1,000 New York City girls who have come to Rock Camp and had the chance to make noise.
It was our band's turn. I wanted to learn drums for so long, and to finally get on stage to play with my band was a dream come true. Wow. I had such an amazing time with my band, my friends, and the drums. And this year is exciting because Willie Mae Rock Camp is 10 years old. Like me. I'm Gigi Jones, and this is Brooklyn North.
Gigi Jones, living the dream.
Dreams come true.
Canceled, will be on tour this summer when they get out of school. No, not really. But you can always have that if you go to BRIC TV and watch their premiere over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Good job, Ms. Jones.
Right on. All right, shifting gears. In the American imagination, the mix of fear and admiration for the Indians of old Western novels and old Hollywood movies has mostly been replaced by, frankly, apathy. Most of us don't know much about life among Native American tribal people. For example, that instead of leather and feathers, today's self-proclaimed warriors wear baseball caps and baggy pants, or that unlike their predecessors of the open plains, they pose more of a threat to their own people than to anyone else.
Well, this is all evident on almost any reservation in the United States. But in a moment, you'll meet the director of a documentary that brings this to light. It's called The Seventh Fire. It was shot on the White Earth Reservation in Minnesota among members of the Ojibwe tribe. Here's the trailer.
To me, what tradition is what a group or a culture does repeatedly.
To choose right from wrong.
To where it's actually their beliefs or their behavior up on that reservation. You know, communicating with your language was a tradition. I really want my culture. I want to know my language again. You know, I consider myself to be a Pine Point product.
P-Town, born and raised.
Take a quick ride through the projects.
It's NGD, Native Gangster Disciple. Whatever the top dude tells you to do. Go kill somebody, go rob somebody. Yeah. I've been here since I was 9 years old. Hey.
So I can reach.
Bring you in the sky.
Yeah.
You know, I went to prison 4 times. Just trying to be more careful and cautious this time.
Come around to catch candy or what? I wanted to be the biggest drug cartel there ever was.
You're definitely on your way.
I don't know, man. Like, kind of has me thinking twice right now.
When I come to jail, you know, all the drugs get out of my system, and everything starts to be real clear on where I'm at. I want this cycle to end.
I used to feel like I wasn't truly indigenous. Now I say me which get your money due for showing me my true roots. Definitely native. Take responsibility for being educated. My tears shedding the sweat, large prayers go out to all those I've wronged and who have wronged me. Gotta treat them like family. Get your money due, we do Kawishin. Jimush Kawisian, me Dutch but me. Anishinaabe is your twawin. Me jit big, it came to my KI. Anishinaabe, been my dizzy win.
It's just such a powerful film stylistically and with its message, you know? To give us even more reasons to see The Seventh Fire and to tell us how it got made, we've asked its Brooklyn-based director, Jack Pettibone-Riccobono, to join us here in the studio. Jack, welcome to BK Live. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Nice to meet you guys.
And this is a treat. Via Skype, we're also excited to introduce you to the man you just saw in the trailer, Rob Brown, one of the lead subjects in the film. Hey, Rob, how you doing?
How you doing?
Good, thanks.
I'm so excited that Rob is joining us via Skype. It's like talking to a movie star now. So I'm happy that you're joining us. So I'm so serial because I didn't know you were going to be here and then you popped up on the screen. But I have a question for you first while you're in the studio. Here in Brooklyn, we think that we're sort of plugging holes in the media landscape where we put on stuff you don't see on those other guys or it's all corporate and crazy. We tell stories of Brooklynites. And that's our mandate. So I wondered how you took your Brooklyn self to the middle of Minnesota and started telling the story of Native people now.
Yeah, it was an interesting journey, definitely, that brought me to this story. I did a short film on the same reservation 8 years ago called The Sacred Food, which was about the wild rice, which is a sacred food for this tribe and part of the prophecy, actually the Seven Fires prophecy that the film gets its title from, that brought them from the Northeast and had them migrate west and look for a place where food grows on the water. And that's why they settled in that whole lakes region in the middle North US and in Canada. And so I made that 8 years ago, and then about 2 years after I made that short, my producing partner read about this issue of inner city gang culture and prison gang culture migrating out to very remote native reservations. And so we started looking into it, and there was just very little out there in terms of other journalistic pieces or studies or any information. So at some point I said, let me go back to the place where I know people and see, is it happening there? You know, will they talk to me about it? And I visited the tribal college, and that was 5 years ago this past October, and Rob was in the class that day, and that's how we first met.
Wow. Rob, thank you for joining us. You're the lead in the film. I have a lot of questions about where your life is at today. But just to start, did you have any hesitations when Jack came to you and said he wanted access to you every day and your life leading up to your, you know, everything that he filmed?
There wasn't no hesitation. More or less, I could kind of sense the potential of his project, and you know, it's kind of hard. But no, I mean, there was no apprehension.
Where are you now? How has your life evolved since we see you at the end of the film?
My life right now has taken on a whole different direction, like a complete 180 times whatever. I'm doing a lot of outreach work. I'm in the birthing and planning stages of a lot, and I had a chance to actually travel on behalf of this film. This film has been well received, you know, and I really didn't think it was going to be well received that much, and I was kind of apprehensive about it, but nonetheless prepared to answer anything that what was shown, because it is my life, and I do account for the things that are done in there. You know, I make no excuse for my actions. I own every single part of it.
Well, one thing that you did, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting, but there was one central relationship to the movie that's between you and the young man. So when we look at the relationship between you and Kevin and you trying to get him sort of on the right track, that scene when you're talking to him and the relationship that you have. So I want to ask both of you, where is he now? The film ends with this big question about what he's going to do.
Yeah, so Kevin is back on the reservation, back in Pine Point, the community where we filmed. And, you know, basically where you leave him at the end of the film, he has this opportunity to go to La Placita Institute, which is a nonprofit based in Albuquerque and is actually our outreach partner for our outreach campaign for the film. And they do some really amazing work reconnecting Native youth with their culture. They've done a lot of work in the juvenile system, correctional system, and now they're looking to expand nationally with what they do and the programs that they do. So in the film, Kevin gets a chance to go down there and sort of maybe, you know, explore a new path for his life. And he's really just not ready to make that change. And I have spoken to him recently. We've been in touch in the last couple of weeks. He knows that that invitation is open to him, but the reality is that you can't kind of force that change. It has to come from within. And I know Rob has also been in some touch with him lately. I don't know if there's anything you want to add, Rob.
Kevin right now, it's kind of different, you know. The only thing, my role right now in his life is to try to inspire him by what I'm doing. Like, I try to really stay active as far as like in social media, as to inspire through my own actions. So I'll pretty much present all the positive, and you know, it's pretty much 100% positive from now on. Like, I got some serious goals, and I've been acting on a lot of things, and I'm only trying to inspire Kevin to do that. And it becomes a case of leading the horse to water, but it's going to be totally up to him if he's going to drink or not. And I'm hoping that he does, and I'm pretty optimistic that he will.
Rob, how did your writing turn out? And we only have a minute left. I want to know what overall you hope people take from seeing this movie, how you hope to inspire people.
I only hope to inspire through, you know, I only became who I am by just owning everything and taking accountability, and, you know, and truly adhering to, you know, being responsible, and now it's my obligation, and I'm propelled to do that. And I see how much of a teacher that I am. So I don't want to teach people and lead them in the bad direction anymore. You know, I want to lead them in the totally right direction. And I can only do that by positively meaning to do such wholeheartedly and respectfully.
And I wanted to add that Rob was just released at the beginning of September from a 3-year prison bid. That was his fifth time back to prison. He came through 39 foster families as a kid, and then was in and out of prison 5 times. And now, you know, when he was behind bars, part of that last trip is what we chronicle in the film. So a lot of what's going on now with prisons being a big issue, Obama visiting a prison for the first time, you know, prison reform, that plays in, I think, a lot to what we're trying to do with the outreach campaign for the film. And we're putting a book together because he kept a journal while he was in prison and wrote some amazing poems, one of which is featured in the film.
Thank you so much. We're so looking forward to that. Please
Rob,
go
nice
and
to meet
see
you.
the
Great
movie.
job.
Thanks for joining us,
We'll all
Rob.
see The Seventh Fire. This is a
Seventh
phenomenal
Fire.
film. You did Terrence Malick proud with all the stylistic and the message and everything of it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I wish we had more time, but thank you. Everyone's going to go out and see The Seventh Fire.
Well, now we're going to hear another Brooklyn product from our B-side show. Here's Sky Zoo singing Suicide Doors.
Really nice to meet you. Thank you, man.
As I think of how to begin this, I already thought of the ending. And if the ending dictates the way to start of a sprinting, then I'm really rewinding what isn't. Get it? Swear it gets harder to get it, but when you got it, to get it again's more innocent. It's like product concealing the end is in the sense. How lights got us, sealing the winds where it begins. It's right by us, labeled it type bias. To be one and the same, or maybe they might buy us and see one of us change, or say that they might buy us and leave us yet again for a gain, like pills on the banners of your screen. Know the handle the regime is the handle on the lead. The hands do extend till the hand is out of reach. The reach be the limbs that'll balance out the means. The means to it all to get a ski mask involved. And you winning or you swimming in the flood of the maroon type. Sheets by the dozen and you covered by a boom mic. Pardon, the most humble of an autograph. The threaded needles of desert eagles and honest raps. The high thinking you can find more. The balance of the script when the shooter signs off. Ballerina fits like 2 inside 4. All for the intrigue of a suicide door. One time, we saw the doors lifting up, and then they never came down. I mean, they rode around the block with the doors lifted up, like they was flying off the ground. I mean, they told us that they call those suicide doors. They said they call those suicide doors. The brake lights was $100 bill green. Yeah, green for a suicide door. And as we take this to a further route, the steps move like it's word of mouth. The steps move like if they were stepping with us when we further out. So step 2 becomes the workaround. It gets lighter than a fly knit, tighter than an eye slit, brighter than the writer you was bright enough to climb with. Complimenting you while bigging up me, it just brings us.
Well, our finale today is all about finales, as in TV finales for individual series or for legendary careers. But Simon Applebaum, host of Tomorrow Will Be Televised podcast, is here, and we're not going to steal his thunder. Take it away, Simon.
Thank you, Brian and Greg, and hello, everyone. Happy pre-Thanksgiving week to you. Back in 1973, a Broadway musical called Seesaw had Tommy Tune singing and dancing to the idea, it's not where you start, it's where you finish. He wasn't singing or dancing about television at the time, but that observation often rises when we consider what TV series stick in our minds or don't. Not how they start, how they finish. Finish like The Fugitive, MASH, The Sopranos, Seinfeld, Mad Men, and Breaking Bad. Now how they finish is up front in TV finales FAQ. It's a new tome from Applause Theater and Cinema Books. Joining us right here to start a conversation about it is the co-author, Holly Van Buren. Holly, happy Thanksgiving to you. Welcome to BK Live.
Happy Thanksgiving to you, too.
How did you and your co-author, Stephen Troppiano, get involved in covering how TV series end?
Well, we thought it was fascinating how shows, not only how they come to be, but how they finish. And when the FAQ series was looking for another book about television, they asked us if we would be interested in covering, a multitude of shows to see, what differences you can find amongst, the best television finales or the worst. So then it was down to us to figure out which shows to cover.
What do people think about when they think of the best TV series that ended?
Which television show
Which
or what
television
they?
shows?
I think MASH is on a lot of lists. I think a lot of people talk about Breaking Bad or any show really that lives up to the very high bar that they're expecting. There's a lot of any show that has these diehard fans that are desperate to find out how it all ends for their characters. So I think really strong characters like a Hawkeye in MASH or a Walter White in Breaking Bad lead to having fans that are desperate to see what happens to them.
Now, we were talking before, and The Fugitive, which a lot of people remember as the first television series to have a finale.
Yes.
It wasn't the first. There was
Right.
one, for example, called Route 66, which had actually a two-part finale in its 4-season run on CBS. But The Fugitive was the one that people think of as that was the first one that turned people onto the idea of having an ending. Because in that time, if you had a television show on ABC, CBS, or NBC, you didn't end the show because it would go right into syndication. And the syndicators did not want you to have an ending show because it felt it would devalue the property.
Right, exactly. If you wanted a show to survive in syndication, it had to feel like it never ended, right? You could come and see these characters anytime. So The Fugitive really was the first time you see event television in the sense of the closure of a show. Fans tuned in to see, would Kimball be freed finally? Would he have to stop running? And people were very anxious to see the outcome of the show. The show's entire premise was predicated on how it ended. So, that's a really important transition in how television was produced when the end becomes as important as the beginning.
And there were three things responsible for the future. First of all, Roy Huggins, who created the show, actually, in his Bible of history, actually suggested how the show would end.
Yes.
David Jensen was tired of doing The Fugitive after 4 or 5 seasons.
Literally tired of running, so.
He was literally tired of the run. And third, and most important, ABC decided rather than do the finale right away, as in the last 2 episodes of a season in the spring, they held off those last 2 episodes called The Judgment until late August, right before the next season started.
Yes,
4 months.
4 months. So fans really had to wait. And, this is 1967. This is not the same television culture as today, where, set your DVR and it'll catch it whenever it's on. It really was appointment television. People waited anxiously for the finale in August.
What's the most controversial finale that you cover in the book? The one where you have equal fans who say, love it, love it, love it, and equal fans who say, is this what we get for the end?
I think it's a toss-up between Lost and The Sopranos for me. I think The Sopranos, because many people thought their cable just went out, ending in black was very controversial. It's sort of, the non-ending ending. And Lost, I think because how much time people invested in trying to figure out the mystery, it's that sense where they've already written their own ending. So will the ending that the creators actually write live up to that? So the expectations were almost too high for that show. So a lot of people feel very disappointed, if the idea that, the characters, it's a dream. Is it a dream? We spent, 5 seasons, 6 seasons with it. Is it a dream, Now,
AMC, in the last year, ended 2 of its classics. Mad Men, which was the first scripted show that they did, and Breaking Bad. And it was interesting that in both cases, the creators of that show, Matt Weiner for Mad Men, Vince Gilligan for Bad, were able to end the shows their way, which a lot of series creators don't necessarily do.
Right, a lot of series creators just get the word from the network, your show's done, okay, quickly we have to wrap it up. But in the case of those 2 shows, it really is, television that is driven by the creators. So, AMC told them, you can decide almost when your show will end, and therefore you get to have this really complete picture of the show. So you have something like Mad Men that's able to literally take us through the entire 1960s, end in 1970 and close the book. And then something like Breaking Bad, which you get to see the entire, transformation of this one character. And in the book, we talk a lot about how the actual finale comes to be. And in shows like that, it's again the situation where from the beginning they know how it's going to end. So
Neil Baer, who just wrapped up on the Dome on CBS, was a former executive producer on Law & Order Special Victims Unit. Really took that show to the whole level on NBC. He's still going strong. We were able to ask him recently on Tomorrow Be Televised, how do you get to end a show? because we always talk to peers about how you begin a show,
Yeah.
but very rare how you end it. But Neil was in that position early this summer when CBS gave him the call saying, Neil, end the show. And how they ended, they lifted the dome.
Yeah.
And it was interesting to hear him talk about what he had to go through to make an ending that was plausible for the audience. And it
Yes.
seems that is also a factor. Does the audience get the end? Are they satisfied? Are they left fulfilled that everything came to a nice conclusion?
Yeah, I mean, think about it. In television, you're tuning in maybe each week for 10 years watching certain characters. You see them more than you see your family and friends. So to close the book on them is really something that is very meaningful to you. And certainly you've invested time and, maybe some of your own personal emotions into a show. So, it is really tough for these creators to really close the book because they feel that they have to, live up to these high expectations and also, service the fans in a way that will make the show go down in history as maybe still continue to be as good as it was throughout its run.
One of the fun things about the book, Holly, is that you not just focus on primetime shows,
Yes.
but you focus on daytime,
Yeah.
particularly daytime dramas. You focus on late night shows,
Yeah.
Johnny Carson, Tonight Show, Jay Leno, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
How fun was that to do different things other than
Yeah.
just primetime?
Well, that was really great because really, when you think about it, like I said, these people you tune in each week, but a show like, The Tonight Show, you're watching that every single night. And something like Oprah Winfrey, to close out a show that you've done tens of thousands of episodes of, it's really difficult. So to see how that develops is very different than seeing something like Breaking Bad, which only has a limited 60 or so episodes. So it was really fun to kind of dig into that, and certainly the daytime shows in terms of, soap operas. You think about a soap opera, you almost think it never ends. But these shows they lasted for 25 plus years. And, how do you say goodbye to those characters that you visited literally every day? So it was interesting to research, the challenges that the creators and writers had for that.
Let's do a little rapid fire. What do you think is the most underrated TV finale ever?
Underrated finale? Ooh, that's tough. Maybe Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I think that show so much is talked about the actual, the run of the show and less about the end. And I think it really has a very satisfying ending.
And overrated?
Overrated? Oh, that's so hard. I don't want to bash anybody here.
Give it a good shot.
Ooh, I want to pick one that I didn't write about. Probably overrated. Ooh, give me a second.
I'll tell you what, I'll give you a thought.
Yeah, you give me a thought.
St. Elsewhere.
Oh,
Love the show, but
wow.
I thought that the end of it with the sort of Citizen Kane-like of the globe, and you pull back to see the autism child who invents all the fantasy, it left a lot of people very confused.
Yes, I think How I Met Your Mother probably would be my selection. Here you have a show where the entire premise is to meet the mother, and in the last minutes, she dies before you really get to meet her. Sorry for the spoiler. But yeah, it's the idea, and I think St. Elsewhere is the same idea. When you do a bait and switch, you change the whole thing. That can kind of make it sort of an overrated, bloated finale in a way.
I'll tell you, Holly, it is an amazing book. It's very
you.
comprehensive, and congratulations to you and
Thank
Stephen on
you.
making the book happen. Thanks for being with us on BK Live.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Very happy Thanksgiving to you.
Same to you.
TV Finales FAQ is now available in bookstores throughout Brooklyn and beyond. If you want more details online, here's where you go, www.applauseBooks.com. It's www.applauseBooks.com. And the co-author, Stephen Tropiano, will get his turn to discuss this effort Wednesday afternoon on a special pre-Thanksgiving episode of Tomorrow Will Be Televised. Join Stephen and me for that Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern on Blog Talk Radio. And throughout Thanksgiving weekend, you can check out recent Tomorrow episodes at blogtalkradio.com/televised or iTunes. And all of our Tomorrow simulcasts and BK Live segments so far this year, you can find them at youtube.com/BRIC TV. By the way, coming up on our show today at 3 o'clock, among other guests, we will have the executive producers of the new sci-fi series, The Expanse. They're Oscar nominees for Children of Men. They're Mark Fergus and Hawk Osby. They're with us live, 3 p.m. right here on Blog Talk Radio. And before we step aside and let Brian and Greg tell us what we've got on BK Live tomorrow, what are your favorite finales, folks?
The best ever is Cheers. That's on Netflix. You can watch that. And The British Office, the one true office. The one true office. I also loved, you can go online and find when Conan O'Brien signed off of The Tonight Show. And I liked when Roseanne won the lottery. I thought it was all building to that. Brian gives
But
that
then she
shade.
didn't.
But then she didn't, right, exactly.
That was a letdown. And Tim reminded me of 6 Feet Under.
Oh, yeah.
It was
That
a
might be
genius.
the most final finale of all
so
time.
good because like every episode started with the whole that, and then you got to see how all these people you spent years with. Shout out to my homeboy Freddie Rodriguez.
Yeah.
But yeah, that one, and I don't know, True Blood was my like worst one of recent memory. I was like, oh, wah. What did
And for
they
me,
do at
Breaking
the end?
Bad, and I loved Kung Fu. I think that was a very underrated finale where David Carradine says goodbye, sort of acknowledges his fellow citizens, and it was just done nice and serene and beautiful. In fact, people have seen Kung Fu. It's one of the great classic shows of all time. Very
Whatever
innovative.
happened to the TV reunion? When I was a kid, they always did reunion shows. I want to see what happened with Dwayne and Whitley and like bringing them back on. Like Theo, dare I say, revive the Cosby Show. Like maybe they'll kill Cliff. Maybe he's like they're gathering for his funeral or something.
I'd be for it. No, they do those. They do reunions. I mean, you know what?
On the Today Show, but
well,
yeah.
Like, I mean, on Netflix they're doing
Yeah,
now.
now they're doing
Netflix.
reunions. Yeah, now they're doing
Fuller
reunions on their
House.
newer shows. So like Courtney Cox had her show, and then she has Jennifer Aniston be a guest on it. So
Right,
it's
and
like
Holly, to that end, there's so much said about the Seinfeld finale. They had a reunion on the Curb Your Enthusiasm. They did a
and
whole
some
extra
people say
episode.
that's a do-over for the finale.
I liked
was
it.
So
They
disappointing.
needed one. But what about the ones that never get like Looking? Are they gonna ever get that finale shot from HBO?
Probably
No,
not.
the movie's not
Probably
happening.
not.
Sorry.
But Getting On is having a
Girlfriends
finale
never
this
got
fall
one.
on HBO.
Getting On is over?
Yep, this last
Son
season, and they
of
will have a finale.
Really? She just got nominated for an Emmy.
I know.
It's so good. What about Nashville? I think I asked you that before.
It's in its final season, probably on ABC. They'll probably get some.
I have a tear
get a
over
send-off.
that one too. I love that.
I like
show.
Party Down. That was a good show, and it ended nicely. Thank
I
you.
like crap shows that only last for a year and they don't know they're getting a finale.
There's no such thing as a guilty pleasure.
Like
don't worry.
what about the ones like there's a guy hanging on the side of the cliff and we never know what happens? Like that always makes me upset when they just leave it.
I'm telling you, Cheers. That's where it's at.
I'm curious how House of Cards and Orange is the New Black and all the Netflix shows, how they will end their show. And by the way, Hemlock Grove is in its final season this fall, and we'll see how that ends pretty soon, season 3.
Some of those are going to end like the book, right? Is Orange is the New Black based on a book? Whatever.
I think she gets out of jail.
Spoiler!
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
It's like that Bible
And
movie.
thank you very much for watching BK Live. We greatly appreciate it. Tomorrow's BK Live will be our last live show until after Thanksgiving, but it's going to leave you feeling as satisfied as that big meal on Thursday. Ironically, we start off with a new look at new regulations that could make things harder for bodegas in New York to do business, though it's all in an effort to upgrade nutrition for those who use the WIC program, women with infant children.
That's right, and as we continue to look at how climate change is already making its impact felt here in Brooklyn, remember, our BRIC Town Hall meeting on that topic is a mere 2 weeks away, and we're going to visit the home of a Seagate man, or what's left of it after Sandy got through it. To put it mildly, the system has not come through for him.
Crowdsourcing the funding for a movie is still a pretty new phenomenon, and as more and more filmmakers consider going this route, Adam Shartoff will be here with one of the top people at Kickstarter Film, along with the producer of a narrative feature that had a successful campaign.
And we're 2 days away before the big meal. There are rumors of cocktails, cupcakes injected with liquor, and somewhere, somehow, a lobster will be in the studio. So you'll just have to tune in to see if those rumors are true. But before we go, we want to say happy birthday to our favorite photographer in studio in chief over there, Mr. Antonio Rosario. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Antonio!
Bump,